The B-21 Raider is the most advanced stealth bomber America has ever built. It hasn't even reached full operational status yet, and DARPA is already working on something that makes it look like a stepping stone. There's a program running right now, so classified, so radical, that the engineers behind it are wrestling with problems no one in aviation history has ever had to solve before. This aircraft, if it works, would cover a mile every single second. It would reach any target on Earth in under 2 hours from the continental United States without a single forward base, without a carrier strike group, without any of the infrastructure America has spent decades building overseas. And here's the part that should stop you cold. Russia and China, with everything they've built, every missile system, every radar network, have no answers for it right now. That program is called the Next Generation Responsive Strike, NextRS. And what I'm about to walk you through today is why some of the sharpest defense analysts in Washington are already saying this changes everything. If this surprised you as much as it surprised me, drop proud in the comments. I read every single one. The two programs everyone is watching. So let me set the stage for you. Right now, in 2026, the United States Air Force has two next-generation programs the whole world is watching. The B-21 Raider, Northrop Grumman 6th-generation stealth bomber, currently in flight testing at Edwards Air Force Base in California. A second test aircraft arrived at Edwards on September 11, 2025, expanding weapons integration work, moving towards operational readiness. It costs $780 million per unit, and it is genuinely extraordinary. And then the F-47, Boeing's next-generation air dominance fighter, the world's first 6th-generation crewed combat jet. President Trump unveiled it earlier this year. Estimated costs somewhere between $250 and $300 million per aircraft. Some analysts are already raising alarms about that price tag. Both programs are real. Both are in development. Both represent genuine leaps in American air power. But here's where it gets interesting. Quietly, running in parallel to all of that, DARPA's most secretive office has been working on something different. Something that doesn't just build on what exists, but rewrites the rulebook entirely. If you're not subscribed yet, now's a good time. I put a lot of work into these, and it genuinely means a lot. 2 seconds. The February 2025 announcement nobody talked about. On February 13th, 2025, DARPA's Airspace Projects Office, the APO, released a contracting notice. Not a press conference, not a big announcement, a contracting notice. The kind of document most people never read. But buried inside it was one of the most significant disclosures in American aerospace in years. The APO officially confirmed it is developing the next generation responsive strike platform, NextRS, working in close partnership with the Air Force Research Laboratory. And here's a detail that caught a lot of analysts off guard. NASA? Why NASA? We'll get to that. The stated goal, a reusable hypersonic aircraft capable of multi-mission strike and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, ISR, against targets protected by advanced air defense systems. The target speed, Mach 5 or faster. That's 3,800 miles per hour, more than 5 times the speed of sound. And it is designed to take off from a conventional runway, hit its target, and land back at base. And do it again. Not a missile, not a one-shot system, a reusable strike aircraft. That is a fundamentally different thing, and most people have no idea what that actually means in a real-world conflict. What Mach 5 actually means in the real world. Let me give you a number that puts this in perspective. The SR-71 Blackbird, the fastest aircraft ever built, flew from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. in 1 hour and 4 minutes back in 1990. That record still stands. No aircraft flying today can beat it. NextRS at Mach 5 would make that same trip in approximately 40 minutes. From the continental United States to any target in the Pacific, or the Middle East, or anywhere else on the planet. in under 2 hours. No other nation has that. Not China, not Russia, nobody. Nobody. And because it can fly that fast, it solves a problem that stealth bombers have always had: the kill chain problem. Here's how air defense systems kill aircraft today. They detect it, they classify the threat, they assign a missile battery, they launch, and that entire sequence takes time. At Mach 5, by the time a ground-based radar detects the NextRS, confirms the track, assigns the weapon, and fires, that aircraft has already moved dozens of miles. The geometry of interception becomes almost impossible. Speed, as a form of survivability, and that is the core philosophy behind the entire program. Why the Air Force is changing its doctrine. Now here's the honest picture. For about 50 years, the United States Air Force bet on stealth. The B-1, the B-2, the B-21, the F-22, the F-35, all of them traded raw speed for low radar cross-section. The doctrine was simple: don't be seen at all. And it worked. For a long time. It worked brilliantly, but something changed. China and Russia did not stand still. They studied American stealth technology. They invested billions into defeating it. Quantum radar concepts, passive detection systems, space-based infrared sensors, low-frequency radar arrays, the S-400 system, and the newer S-500. The window of guaranteed stealth and visibility has been getting narrower year by year, and the Pentagon knows it. That's what's driving NextRS. The Air Force isn't abandoning stealth. The B-21 is still going to be the backbone of the American strategic bombing for decades, but the generation after that, the program that follows the B-21 the way the B-21 followed the B-2, that program bets on speed as the primary survival mechanism. And the NextRS is it. The engine, the most important part nobody's explaining. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is the part most people are sleeping on. The propulsion system, NextRS would use what engineers call a turbine-based combined cycle engine, ATBCC. Thrust range estimated between 30,000 and 38,000 pounds of force. Here's why that matters. A pure scramjet, a supersonic combustion ramjet, works beautifully at Mach 5 and above, but it cannot start from a standstill. It needs to already be moving fast before it can ignite. So the combined cycle engine does this: turbine engines at lower speeds, takeoff, climb, subsonic transit. Then at around Mach 3, the propulsion system transitions, switches to scramjet mode, and from there it rides to Mach 5 and beyond. The X-43A, NASA's experimental vehicle, hit Mach 9.6 in 2004 using a scramjet. The Air Force X-51 Waiver Rider hit Mach 5.1 in 2013. The difference between those programs and NextRS is one word: reusable. Those are expendable test vehicles, fired once, gone forever. NextRS is designed to land, refuel, and fly again, potentially the same day. That transforms hypersonic strike from one-shot capabilities into a persistent one. A fleet of these operating from American soil could reach any target on the planet within 2 hours, on demand, day after day. No country on Earth is close to that. The real challenges and why this isn't guaranteed. Now, I want to be straight with you, because that's what this channel does. There are real challenges here, and the people building NextRS are not pretending otherwise. At Mach 5, the surface of the aircraft heats to temperatures that destroy conventional materials. The leading edges see temperatures above 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The entire airframe becomes a thermal management problem. Standard stealth coatings that make the B-21 invisible cannot survive that heat. So early designs for NextRS may not be traditionally stealthy in the radar absorbing sense. That's a real trade-off. The aircraft will also generate a massive infrared signature. Space-based infrared sensors, the kind Russia and China operate, would likely see it coming. That's why some analysts believe the final design may rely on standoff weapons, rather than overflying a target directly, launching hypersonic missiles from hundreds of miles away before any air defense system even knows the aircraft is in the region. Manned or unmanned, the question nobody can answer yet. And then there's the question of manned or unmanned. No decision has been confirmed publicly, but engineers who study hypersonics have pointed out for years the human body cannot easily survive sustained Mach 5 environments. The heat, the G-force during maneuver, combine to create a genuinely hostile operating environment. Some renderings of the NextRS concept do not show a traditional cockpit, which has led to serious debate in defense circles about whether this will be a drone platform, a manned aircraft, or like the B-21 with its optional manned architecture. Potentially both. That flexibility, that optional unmanned concept, is the one reason it's being described as the bomber-drone hybrid, not just a next-generation manned bomber. The community that gets why this matters. And if you're part of this community, veterans, people who followed American air power your whole life, who understands what it means when the United States maintains this kind of edge, you already know why a program like this matters. It's not about hardware for its own sake, it's about deterrence. It's about making potential adversaries do the math and decide the cost isn't worth it. The timeline and what comes next. Here's the timeline. DARPA wants a formal design and development phase initiated by the end of this decade, a prototype in the air by 2030. If all the engineering challenges are solved on schedule, the NextRS could reach operational service sometime in the 2040s. That's not around the corner, but this is how the American air power has always worked. The B-21 flying today was a classified concept in the 2000s. The F-22 that pilots fly now was a drawing in the 1980s. Programs like NextRS exist now so the Air Force of the 2040 has options. Options that Russia and China will not have. And the fact that NASA is involved isn't incidental. It raises a genuinely interesting question about how high NextRS might operate. Some analysts have quietly floated the possibility of a near-space operating envelope, altitudes where the aircraft could potentially deliver long-range air-to-air weapons, or even operate in a dual role between the Air Force and the Space Force. Nothing's confirmed, but the pieces are interesting. The big picture. Let me put the whole picture together for you. The B-21 Raider is real. It is flying. It is extraordinary. And it will be the backbone of America's strategic bombing for the next 30 years. The F-47 is real. It is the world's first sixth-generation fighter, and it will carry the air superiority mission into the 2030s and beyond. But NextRS is the generation after that. The program that says stealth was never the answer to every problem, and speed, Mach 5, reusable, on-demand, global reach is the answer to the one stealth cannot solve anymore. No carrier strike group needed, no forward bases, no warning, a mile a second. From American soil to anywhere on the planet. China is building the J-20, the J-35, carrier aviation, hypersonic missiles. Their anti-access systems are specifically designed to keep American powers at arm's length. You cannot build an anti-access wall against something that arrives at Mach 5 from 6,000 miles away. That's the whole point. The B-21 builds the foundation. The F-47 holds the sky. And NextRS, if the engineers pull it off, renders the entire anti-access strategy of America's rival obsolete. Speed, reusability, global reach. On demand. That's not science fiction. That's what DARPA announced on February 13, 2025, and the world barely noticed. If you got value from this, hit like and subscribe, and drop your next topic in the comments. That is exactly where these videos come from. Stay sharp.